A lot of people have been asking me how I make my gallery walls because apparently I am a professional gallery wall maker. Because I recently moved, I just made 3 separate gallery walls for my house. One of them is my own gallery wall. I also have a gallery wall in the living room, and I made my roommate a gallery wall. So I've had a lot of experience lately on making gallery walls, and I figured now is the perfect time to tell you how I did it. I've separated this kind of into like 5 steps, but there's steps within the steps. So this started for me a couple months ago, back in September of 2019. I was just chilling, hanging out on Instagram, and I found this really amazing, well, I didn't find it. I had been following them for a while, but I found this really awesome Instagram. I don't know if you know them, Proper Thieves, love of my life. And their room is just so cool. I highly recommend, this is like kind of a half step at the beginning, to just look on Instagram for gallery walls because there's so many great gallery walls out there. But I was particularly inspired by Proper Thieves on Instagram because their gallery walls in their room are just really unique, and they're this kind of style, I don't know if you can see it, where it's like mismatched frames and posters and random knickknacks, and it's obviously very specific to their aesthetic because they have such a strong aesthetic. But because of that, I was inspired to make one of my own at my other place. So I made one gallery wall, and it actually worked out really well, and then when I moved, I ended up making so many. So now I'm very, very good at making gallery walls. It's challenging. It's not all fun and games, but it is also very fun, and it's kind of a game. So, step 1, visualize and brainstorm. Visualizing. What do you want? Because I think a lot of times when we think gallery walls, you kind of just want to jump into it and start putting things on your wall, and that's great. But not for this process. For me personally, I'm a type 5 on the Enneagram, and I'm also very artistic, and I'm kind of sometimes a perfectionist. And so for me, I wanted to have a gallery wall that looks beautiful. I don't want to make any mistakes. I want it to look great the first time. And so in order to do that, you need to visualize and you need to brainstorm. Plan. That's basically step 1. So my first tip for this is use things that you already have. So make a list, figure out what you have at your disposal. That might look like going through magazines that you already own, finding all those old prints that you printed out 3 years ago that you thought you were going to scrapbook. Maybe you're gathering CD booklets, or you're finding weird prints that your mom gave you for Christmas. I don't know. Gather the things that you have. Also, don't just think about basic stuff of like, oh, I have these photo prints I want to hang out on the wall. Like, be creative. Find things that you really want to display that really exemplify, is that the word? I don't know, embody who you are as a person. You know, for me, that might look like, oh, there's a ticket stub from a Broadway show that I really want to put on my wall. Or there's some art that I made many years ago that still looks cute. I should put that on there. Maybe you're just finding random things that you own in your closet that you've never displayed before, but you really want to keep close. Lots of options. Just use what you already have, make a list, figure out what you own, and once you take stock of that, then you can move on to the next step, which is daydreaming about other things that you don't own yet. Another tip for using stuff that you already own is to repurpose things that may or may not be hangable. One of those tips is to scan things. I know it may or may not be frowned upon by certain people, but for me, I have a lot of things that I've bought that like you can't really hang a book on a wall. But also, like, books are really pretty. For instance, Florence Welch, she has a really great poetry collection that has so much art. There's just so many beautiful pages in there, and obviously, because it's a book, you can't just, like, put it on your wall, necessarily. So what I did for my wall, I don't know if you can see it, this is actually a page from her book, but I scanned it in, really high quality, and then I ordered an 8x10 print of it. Is it legal? I don't know, but I did it anyway. I'm sorry, Florence, I bought your book. I bought your $40 book. I deserve to make a print of it. Another option, I don't know if you can see this. This is actually a signature from an author in a book. Like, it's from my Perks of Being a Wallflower book. So I scanned that page, so now I have this nice print of a wonderful signature, and I still have it in my book on my bookshelf. Boom. So even if you don't already own certain things, you can kind of repurpose stuff that you really want to show off and display, and get prints of it for later. So while you're making your decisions and you're brainstorming and figuring out what you have and what you're looking for, a really important thing to keep in mind is look for themes and certain color palettes and things of the stuff that you already own. So when you're looking for new things, keep in mind like, oh, I have this picture that I want to hang that is pink. Do I want to have a whole pink gallery wall, or is that just going to be a nice accent? What color schemes am I really looking for in this new art? Because a lot of making a gallery wall, the fun of it is going out and being like, oh my gosh, this Etsy print is so cute. I'm going to buy it and put it on my wall. But it doesn't really work as well if you are ignoring color. I know color is a challenge, and this goes into the whole artistic aspect of making a gallery wall, that it's not easy for everybody. But when you're taking stock of things, it's easier to kind of look and see, oh, like I need more green, or I want more brown, or maybe I need more black and white prints. I don't know. Maybe you want to do a whole gallery wall that's themed in black and white, and you're just now realizing it and you're trying to buy new prints. I don't know. Hard to say. But while you're taking stock, it's easy to figure out like, oh, there is a general theme, or maybe you're one of those people like my roommate who just loves color and has so much of it and there's no theme and it's just crazy. Those can work too. But just kind of like keep in mind what you're looking at while you're choosing new things. You also want to keep in mind frames. I'll be talking more about frames down the line, but frames are really important. A lot of people really love framing things on their gallery wall, and I think that's great, and that's what I did. When you're looking for things to buy and add to your collection, you do want to be conscious of, oh, am I going to frame this? Is this coming framed? Should I frame it? Do I have a frame for this? Am I looking for a frame? Do I have a frame that I'm maybe trying to fill? Lots of options here. But just kind of like keep that in mind while you're looking at colors and you're looking at different variety types of media and whatever. Just like keep in mind, are you going to frame this? Are you looking for a frame? Do you already have a frame? I don't know. Who's to say? Next step, now that you've listed basically everything that you have and you have an idea of what you're looking for generally for the tone, you are listing what you want. If you've been looking at a poster for like 6 months and you're like, I don't know, should I get it? Get it. If you can afford it, get it. Find like as many crazy things that you want to display on your wall as possible. This is the time to go on Redbubble, go on Etsy, support those businesses that really need your help, especially now that we're all in quarantine. Support small businesses, support indie bookstores, whatever it may be, and just go crazy. Like this could mean you're looking on Pinterest and you're trying to find new art pieces. I don't know, maybe you're going through your own photo archive and you're like, wow, I really need to order some prints. I should look at my old photos from years ago. Maybe, I don't know. What else do I even have on this wall? I don't know. You're just kind of like looking for new things to acquire for your collection. So when you're buying things, make sure you're very conscious, first of all, of your budget, but second of all, of what you need. You know, you want to have a variety in your media type and sizing. So that means maybe you order some prints from Shutterfly. Maybe it also means you order some Polaroids. Maybe it means you buy a really nice poster and you frame one really nice piece of art, but you have mostly photos. I don't know. There's a lot of variety, a lot of things to think about. So some of the things, a list of things that are ideas for you. Photo prints. These are things that you can get from various websites, which I will talk about down the line, but photo prints are a great option. Posters, framed art pieces, ticket stubs, Polaroid pictures, newspaper clippings / actual newspaper pages. I have those on my wall as well. CD booklets / actual CD cases, actual physical CDs, keepsakes and memorabilia from your past, quotes, pieces of hand-drawn art and lettering that you've created, mirrors, letterboards. The list really is endless. You can pretty much display almost anything you can think of at this point. I have in the past, I've made like actual like written down lists, but it can also be helpful if you pin stuff on Pinterest or you have like a folder on your computer of all the files that either you want to buy or that you have already bought or that you're going to print, etc., etc. So try and find an organization style that works for you. It's different for everybody. I have used all of those things. But it's good to stay organized and remember what you're looking for while you're getting ready to buy things. So then once you've collected kind of your idea of what you want to buy, you don't necessarily have to go out and buy everything right away. It's nice to visualize and create like a nice board of like, oh, this is the wall and this is kind of what it's going to look like. Now that could mean you are like me and you sit on Photoshop for 8 hours and you individually place a picture of every single thing you own and you make it a gallery wall. I've done that before. Another option is if you want to just get out and draw, you kind of want to visualize sizing at this point. It's about looks, but it's also making sure like, oh, I have a really empty space here. I need to get an 8x10 print, or oh, I don't really have a lot of square prints, so I should get a bunch of really tiny square prints. And it's having that variety in size that really makes the gallery wall pop, in my opinion. You can make it a very organized and uniform gallery wall. I've seen people do that and it's great. However, for me personally, I think it helps that everything is a little bit varied and different because it makes it easier. You don't have to be so perfect. You can just kind of like put it up there and like it's fine. It works. It's good. You know, it's still pretty even though it really has nothing that matches. Step 2, order prints, gather materials. So now is your time to buy everything. Depending on how much you already own, this could get very expensive very quickly. So you really want to be conscious of your money and you want to make sure you're putting it into the right things. So for instance, If you really want a nice art print that costs a lot of money, it might be worth it to spend more on that and not get as many prints. But if you're looking to fill a really big wall, it might be beneficial for you to get a bunch of like 10-cent prints from Walmart of your photos. So you just display your photos. I don't know, who's to say? And if you already own a lot, maybe you're not even spending that much money on prints. Maybe you're spending all of your money on frames or command strips or nails or like whatever it is. So you don't have to make a super expensive gallery wall depending on what you already have. However, I will let you know I did spend money on my gallery walls because I wanted them to look nice. So you just kind of got to play with it. It's fine. Another option if you're trying to save money on gallery walls is you don't have to print everything really nice. I know we want to have nice gallery walls, but that's not always a good option. Sometimes all you have is a printer and some paper, and that's it. That's all you got. And you can make that work. It's not going to be as beautiful and as fancy as some other people's art, maybe. But like I've printed stuff out on my printer and put it up on my wall. For instance, this is a scan of the Kingdom of Ash acknowledgements that I can see anytime I turn on the light. And I printed it out on my computer and put some cardboard on the back, and it's good to go. Same thing goes for this. This is the same thing. I drew on this, but it's basically I printed it out on printer paper and now it's on my wall. It doesn't have to be super fancy. You can literally just put printer paper up on your wall. It's fine. Nobody will know. Don't tell them. I just told you. It's fine. So at this point, there's kind of two different options here. You can go the printing photos route, which I have done. You can also go the art buying route, which I have done. It depends on the gallery wall you want to make. If you want to make it super personal, you may want to put pictures in there. But if you want to make it really artsy and weird and I don't know, art prints, two options. So when you're going to art prints, the places I usually go are Etsy or Redbubble. You can find things at thrift stores. You can also find things at other department stores like Target, Walmart, whatever. It just kind of depends on the vibe you're going for and if you're looking for something specific or just cute and artsy. You can also kind of play off of your finances here. If you're looking for expensive art, you can go find expensive art. But if you need really cheap stuff, you can really find some good stuff at Goodwill, I'm not gonna lie. Another option on Etsy is printing Polaroids. So if you're printing photos, like normal printed photos are great, but if you want to add a variety to your media and make it look a little bit different, make sure you have some Polaroids, honestly. They help a lot because they're small and also they're really cute. So there are a bunch of different sellers on Etsy that if you go out there, you can find that print Polaroids. So you can get your normal nice photos that you didn't take on a Polaroid camera and have them printed as Polaroids. For instance, this is one of those. I took it on my phone, but now it's Polaroid, and it's beautiful. The second part of this is printing out your photos, and as somebody who is a photographer, I have opinions. I have a couple different sites and stores that I use to print my own photos. For me personally, my go-to is Shutterfly. They're kind of pricier than other places, but for me, I really trust them, and they have really good products. And usually they have a lot of sales. So my number one tip for printing photos is look for sales. Usually there's a bunch of photo sales, whether it's photo books or photo prints or whatever around holiday season. Now this doesn't even have to be Christmas. It could be something like Labor Day, Memorial Day, St. Patrick's Day, it doesn't matter, whenever it is. There's a lot of sales that go along, and if you're looking to buy prints, definitely wait out until holiday season because you can get so many more deals that way, especially on Shutterfly. I don't know about other places necessarily, but they do a really good job of having great sales around that time. Like a lot of times you can get 101 free prints around certain holidays and just pay shipping, which is like the dream. Also, you should print your photos and not put them on a gallery wall too. That's another thing, but another day. Other options here include Artifact Uprising, which is a very, very expensive photo printing place, but they have a really, really high quality prints. So if you're looking for something that's matte or maybe has a border or is really just nice and classy, that is a great way to go. I got a set of 10 for I think $15 to $20 maybe, of 4x6 prints. I don't know. They're expensive, but to me, sometimes it's worth it. So that's an option if you want really high quality prints. Other places, I know Parabo Press is a really great option for square prints. They usually do 25 square prints for free and then you just pay shipping. But they have borders and they're matte and they're super cute. I have ordered from them multiple times and I really am impressed with their prints. So that's a great option if you're looking for something. Another thing that my roommate did is you can just print it at Walgreens. It's super cheap and usually they have it done really fast. You can do it really easily on the app. So if you're looking to order prints and get them very quickly, that is a great option. But generally my go-to is Shutterfly. Step number 3, buy frames. So this is the part that is fun and also stressful. Buying frames is really great because frames are nice and it makes you feel more professional. However, frames can get very expensive, and so I know it stresses a lot of people out when they go to buy frames because in their head they go to Target and they're like, oh my god, I don't want to spend $5 on this one frame, that's so expensive. I am here to give you all of the tips for buying frames. So what you want to do first of all, once you have all of your prints and you're going out to find frames, make sure you have a list of what you need. The worst thing you can do is go out there and just be like, I don't know, I just need some 8x10 frames, and then you come back and you either have the wrong size frame, you have too many of one certain type of frame, or you just don't have enough frames. So make a list, figure out what you need, and part of what helps me in doing that is laying everything out and being like, oh, I really want these 4 pictures framed, but I don't need to frame all of them. Or I say, well, I know I have a lot of 8x10 frames. I need some more 4x6 or 5x7 or whatever it may be. And this is also helpful if you have like certain types of prints that you know need a specialty frame, whether you need like a poster frame, or maybe you have a panoramic photo that you need to order a frame specially. I don't know, who's to say? Maybe you even have like a very specific print that you need to have a frame made for it. You don't have to go that crazy, but this is a time to take stock of what you have and figure out what frames you need to buy before you go out and get lost in Thrift Smart for 6 hours. You don't have to just go to Target and buy any frame you see. You can do that. That is an easy option. It's probably going to be more expensive if you do that. I have a couple places that I go to when I need cheap frames that are also cute and quirky. Part of this also depends on how you want your gallery wall to look. Now, if you want a clean, minimalist gallery wall and you want them all black and you want them all to look the same, you may want to go somewhere like Walmart, because Walmart has a lot of cheap frames. They're not really great quality, but from what I've done, they're still on the wall and they do a pretty decent job for cheap. You can usually get a bunch of affordable frames at Walmart. Like literally when I went to Walmart, I think I bought about 30 frames and I felt so bad for everybody there, but like it's fine, it worked out. So I would say Walmart is a really great option, especially if you're just looking for black and white frames. That is the place to go. If you're looking for more unique frames, maybe you want something gold, maybe you want something that's wooden, I don't know, maybe you want brown, maybe you want something colorful, who's to say? My go-to option is thrift stores. And this is, you can go to any kind of charity shop. This could be like Thrift Smart, which is what I have here in Nashville. You could go to Goodwill. You could go literally any vintage store probably, and just look for frames, because you don't even have to look for just nice new frames. You can reuse, which is good. We're trying to save the environment here. But like a lot of my best frames are actually from Thrift Smart, and they cost me like maybe $4 at most, but they look like they cost so much money, you know? Especially if you're looking for like big frames. That is the place I start because I know I can find something for cheap. Sometimes you get through Thrift Smart and you find all your frames and you realize I still have things to frame and they're very specific. And that is when, after I have framed pretty much everything I can from charity shops or whatever, that's when I go and I pull out big guns. I go somewhere like Amazon, or I go to Michael's. Michael's has a lot of great semi-affordable options. They do custom framing, I think, as well. But like they have weird stuff there that like if you're trying to frame like a CD and a booklet, that's a great place to go for that. If you're trying to frame like vinyls or your diploma, something like that, I don't know. They have a lot of options there that are a little bit pricier than going to a thrift store, but they're not so obscene that you can't spend that much money on them. I think you should also keep in mind that you don't have to frame everything. You don't have to frame anything if you don't want to. For me, I usually try and do like half of it framed, half of it not framed, because I think it just makes it a little more eclectic that way. Step number 4, buy your hanging materials. I'm gonna be honest, for me, I don't know how to use nails. I don't like them. I understand the concept of nails, but I think they're just not, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I'm a millennial and I went to college and I use command strips. Maybe it's because I live in an apartment, who's to say. You can figure out your own hanging technique. For this specific video, I'm gonna be talking about command strips. This is not sponsored by 3M, but I would just like to tell them, please sponsor me. I love you guys. I've been using command strips since I was in college. Most college dorms that you go to really encourage you to use command strips because you're not allowed to use nails. And they are pricey. I will tell you, I've spent a lot of change on command strips. However, I think they do a really great job of hanging things easily. And if you're living in an apartment like me, you don't have to damage the walls. So it's really, really helpful. It does take a little bit of a learning curve. So if you haven't used command strips before, maybe watch some tutorials, maybe just like play around with them, because they can be a little bit persnickety, and I have my issues with them, but overall I would recommend command strips for hanging your gallery wall. I know a lot of people, when they hang things on their wall, especially if it's just like a photo or a Polaroid or whatever, they like to use normal tape. or washi tape. Washi tape is another option that a lot of people use. They're fine. I've used tape before. However, I think command strips are so much better. One, because they're easy to remove, but also because they stick better. And I hate it when I hang things up with washi tape and then in the middle of the night, I hear like 6 different photos fall on the ground because they're just not sticking anymore. So even if you use command strips on your big frames and you're trying to decide if you should use washi tape on posters or photos or whatever, I would recommend getting the command strips, but maybe that's just me who's sick. Really quick, I'm gonna give you a rundown on command strips if you've never used them before. If you've already used command strips and you're like, I know how to hang things, that's fine, skip ahead, it's all good. There's multiple types of command strips and it can be very overwhelming the first time you use them. For me, I use about 3 different kinds. Number 1, poster strips. Number 2, Velcro strips. And number 3, the clear see-through hooky hangy things. Why is this hook? I don't know. Poster strips. Poster strips are what I use for everything that isn't framed, that is not super heavy or large. So this could be Polaroids, this can be photo prints, it can be ticket stubs, papers, whatever it is. For most of my command strip things, I tend to overstrip because in my opinion, I would rather overstrip and have it stick on there really, really well than understrip and have it fall down in the middle of the night. In theory, you don't need that many strips for one specific item because they hold a lot of weight, but I'm just paranoid and also like it's more fun to stick more things. So usually I try and do like 1 poster strip for each like photo or Polaroid, and then if I do a poster, I'll just like stick down all the corners. It depends. You may have to play around with it, figure out what you have, what you want to do, whatever. But poster strips are a really great option for non-framed items. Framed items are the most challenging thing. Most of the time I try and use Velcro strips for frames because it's so much more complicated to hang a hook. So if I have a really big frame with like flat all around, I will literally just stick the Velcro strips on it and then just pop it on the wall. Most frames only need like 1 or 2 Velcro strips. The big ones I usually will use 4, even though I don't need to because, like I said, I'm paranoid. Yeah, and if I have, there's a lot of frames that I have that don't have like a nice border to stick my Velcro strips on. So sometimes what I will do is if you have a frame that has a back that like has the thing that like the stand, you know what I'm talking about, the weird awkward stand thing, I will usually put command strips right on that frame. You should keep in mind though, especially with the Walmart frames, if there are stickers on there, please take off the stickers before you put the Velcro strips on because sometimes they fall in the middle of the night at 4 a.m. and it's the worst. It's fine. Yes, so that's what I use for most of my frames. However, there are certain frames that either cannot do that because they don't have a good placement for them, or they specifically have a thing that like they need to be hung on a hook. And so for those, I do actually use the see-through clear hooks. You can also use these to hang lights if you've done that before. It's more challenging. It takes a lot of finagling and figuring out how to do it, but it is possible, and I have done it, especially for things like this letterboard. It has a clear hook, so if I want to tilt it, I can. Step 5, hang. So I have a list of like 10 to 15 tips for hanging your stuff. I'm just gonna go through it, give you these tips. Number 1, sometimes when you buy command strips, they will come with a miniature level. I don't have it on me, but it's basically like a little thing that's this big, and obviously it's used for leveling things. I don't always use a level because I have a very nice eye and I can usually tell when something's straight, but if you're one of those people that really wants a straight gallery wall, or you're paranoid, or you just are not good at spatial anything, a level is a really great option, especially those little tiny ones that you can just like set it on top and it's like, there it goes. So yeah, if you happen to get command strips that have that included, that's great. If not, maybe you want to invest in like a really cheap level just to like figure out how to hang stuff. I feel like a lot of people are going to ask, where do you start? Like, how do you just put things on a wall? That's stressful. If you want, you can be one of those people that kind of like draws out where they want to hang stuff and like place it without actually taping anything down. Or you can use like painter's tape to kind of show where everything's going to be. I am really good at spatial awareness and I'm really artistic and creative, so I have a good eye for things. So for me, I literally just like put it on there. That's basically where it ends up. But when I'm starting, a great way to start is kind of start in the middle and work your way out, especially if you're not sure how much you have or you're not sure if you can fit everything. Start in the middle with the most important stuff, the things that you really want to see, that are really pretty, and then work outward. So I think the first thing I hung on this wall is this, because it's my favorite piece. It's me, Taylor, and Haley. I don't know if you've seen it before. It's everywhere, but I started with that, and then I just kind of like worked outward. And so it's a bit of a process because it does take some trial and error. Sometimes you're gonna hang something and you're not gonna like how it looks, and so you're going to completely scrap it, or you're gonna be like, I kind of want to move it like a little bit this way, and so you'll finagle with the command strip and be like, okay, move. But if you start with the middle, I think that's the best way to kind of figure out where you're going. Unless you like hardcore plan everything out and draw and like put on tape and all that, like that's how I do it. Put heavy things near the bottom, especially if you're anxious. I know it can be really nerve-wracking when you put up a gallery wall because you're putting up a lot of glass. What if it all falls down in the middle of the night at 3 a.m.? Has happened to me before. It's not fun. Last night it happened to my roommate. It happens. But one way to combat that is if you have things that you either think are super precious, or maybe you're really anxious about them falling because they're heavy, put them towards the bottom of your wall. Put them as close to the floor as you possibly can. Find a way to protect them. If it's over a carpet, if you have a rug that you want to put down just in case something falls, like that's a really great option. Put all of the heavy stuff near the bottom so if it does fall, it doesn't have that far to fall. This is obvious. When you're hanging higher items, don't reach to hang them. Get a chair or a bench. I have a piano bench that I use to hang every single gallery wall in this house. Was it rickety? Could I have died? Probably, but it did the job. Another huge tip, especially if you're using command hooks, please give it the time to stick to the wall. Certain things I fudge, and I am one of those people who's like, whatever, if I just press it really hard for 10 seconds, it'll stay up. And usually it does. However, if you have like really big pieces or certain things that are very important to you, take the time to let your command strips sit. I know you're supposed to let them sit for like an hour or something so they connect to the wall. Haven't done that, honestly, for most of my things, but it is a good thing to think about. Make sure that you really are pressing things hard. Make sure that everything is secure before you really walk away. The first night I was staying with this gallery wall, I put a blanket on the floor in front of it just in case something happened. Nothing, well, one thing has fallen down from this gallery wall and it was fine when it fell, but it is something to be aware of that things do fall down, especially when you're not nailing stuff to the wall. So just be aware of it and do your best. So when you're trying to place things, I know a lot of people are gonna be like, but how do you know? How do you put it there? How do you know? Part of it is being intuitive and creative, and I'm sorry I can't give any of my artistic juices to you because that's just how my brain works. I see things, I can design stuff very easily, and I know where to put stuff. My tip for you, if you don't know, try not to put anything that's too similar next to each other. So space things out. If you have big prints, don't put them right next to each other unless you're trying to do like a foursome or something like that. If you have a specific eye or like a logical reason why you're putting similar things together, go for it. Like if you're keeping colors together, if you have a theme of like, oh, I really want all of my like fan art together, like that's fine, whatever. But don't just put like 3 prints that look very similar in size together and hope that it's gonna look okay, because it's probably not. Try and put like little things next to big things and fill in the spaces with like Polaroids or whatever. Try and make it varied as much as you can, especially if you're going for this eclectic mismatched kind of look that I have going on. If you're having a very like uniform gallery wall, then like live your dreams. Make it all the same. It's great. Do that if you want to. But for this specific tutorial, try not to put anything too similar next to each other. I know it's going to be difficult, but usually when I'm going through it, I'm just kind of like staring at all the things. And I'm like, okay, I need like a small print to go here. I need a Polaroid. I need something to hang because I haven't hung that in a while. I know I want a mirror here, so I'm going to put the mirror there, and then I need something to offset the mirror. So a lot of it is just kind of like living in the moment and figuring out what you want and working through what you have and just kind of like slowly going and putting stuff on there. It'll get more challenging as it goes on because you'll use up all your good prints at the beginning, and then by the end you're like, I need a vertical print and I have none. That's basically, those are my hanging tips. I think overall, like the things to remember: variety. Make sure you vary stuff. Make sure you try not to be too similar for anything you put up on the wall. Number 2, don't try and be perfect. I know you're gonna want it. I know you're gonna want to make a perfect, beautiful gallery wall on the first time. Don't be afraid to start over. Don't be afraid to take stuff down. Don't be afraid to order new prints. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's gonna happen, I promise you. I did not get this in one try. It took me a lot of different finagling to make it look good. And have fun with it. I think a lot of times when you're doing art projects like this, it can get very, very stressful very quickly because you just want it to look pretty and you just want it to be done and you just want to have it. But like, have fun. Like, have a dance party. Take a break. Don't put it all up in one go. Unless you're that person like me who wants to put it up in the same 5-hour span. Do whatever. All of these things that I'm telling you are just tips and tricks. This is how I personally created this beautiful wall behind me, and it worked out for me, and it works well, and I think it's a great system, and I know how to do it, but I know it's not for everybody because not everybody has the same brain I do. So if you have issues with this type of setup, you can do whatever you want, honestly. It's just a nice way to get your brain flowing. Personally, the main reason why I got a gallery wall is because I did have a lot of prints. I have so much art in my room that I have not been able to look at because there's just like, unless you sit down to make a gallery wall, you're not gonna look at it. So if you have stuff that you're like, I really wanna hang this, but I don't have the time, make the time. Make that gallery wall. You have nothing better to do these days. Make it, hang it, make it happen. And it's just a really great thing because for me, I'm really inspired anytime I look at it. Almost everything that I put on my gallery wall, I put on there for a reason because it's really, really fun. Whether it's like a memory or really pretty art or it represents something that I love, like it's a really great thing because every time I look at this wall, I'm like, oh my God, art. I feel so inspired. I just want to take pictures. I just want to look at it, whatever. So if you're like not really feeling your space, this is a great way to liven things up, make it something personal, make it something that's you. But yeah, honestly, my biggest tip is have fun. Whatever you create will be beautiful. I guarantee it. Even if you don't believe it, I believe it. Take your time, have fun, spend all your money on frames if you want. Nothing matters. Time is meaningless. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. If you have questions, I can't guarantee that I can answer them, but I might be able to provide support. Possibly, maybe not, who's to say. Like I said, I was inspired by Proper Thieves on Instagram, so please go follow them. They're wonderful. You will not regret it, I promise. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you in my next video. Bye!